The crippled prince and the worthless Omega. How romantic. The court's whispers grew louder, more vicious. They always told me I was worthless, an Omega, bottom of the hierarchy, a political pawn to be traded, sold, discarded. And when they announced my betrothal to Prince Althor, the embarrassment of the royal family, the powerless failure who couldn't even shift properly, I knew exactly what I was. Garbage married to garbage, a convenient way to tie two failing houses together and pretend either of us mattered. I stood in that grand hall on my wedding day, surrounded by marble columns that reached toward a ceiling I couldn't see, and felt every single eye on me. Judgment pressed against my skin like a physical thing. The nobles whispered behind jeweled fans and gloved hands. I caught fragments of their poison. Poor thing. At least she's pretty to look at. Wasted on him, though. The crippled prince and the worthless Omega. How romantic. Their laughter cut deeper than any blade. I wanted to scream, to run, to tear off this suffocating white gown and disappear into the crowd. But I couldn't. My father had made that perfectly clear. This marriage would save our house from complete ruin, or I would be disowned, cast out, left to survive on the streets. So I stood there, trembling, hating every second of it. Then the doors opened, and he walked in. Prince Althor, the man I was about to bind myself to for life. He moved slowly down the aisle, his steps hesitant, almost shuffling. His frame was lean, too lean for an alpha, people said. His shoulders hunched slightly forward like he was trying to make himself smaller, invisible. His dark hair fell across his face, hiding his eyes from view. Everything about him screamed weakness. The court's whispers grew louder, more vicious. Can't even walk properly. Pathetic. The shame of the bloodline. I felt a strange twist in my chest. Not attraction, not sympathy, exactly. Something else, something that felt uncomfortably close to recognition. We were both failures in their eyes, both unwanted, both here because we had nowhere else to go. He reached the altar, stood beside me. I could smell him now, pine and cold rain and something else, something I couldn't identify. His hands were clasped in front of him, knuckles white with tension. The high priest began the ceremony. Ancient words in a language I barely understood. The binding ritual that would tie us together, soul to soul, for the rest of our lives. Forever shackled to a man who couldn't even look at me. Then came the moment of the bonding cuffs. The priest handed them to Althor. Simple silver bands, inscribed with runes that would seal our union. Althor's hands shook as he took them. Actually shook. I watched his fingers tremble, saw the sweat on his brow, heard the barely suppressed laughter from the crowd. He couldn't even do this one simple thing without falling apart. Humiliation burned through me. This was my future. This trembling, weak man who couldn't even place a bracelet on my wrist without his hands betraying him. He reached for my left hand. His fingers brushed my skin. And something happened. I am sure you would want to know what happened next. Subscribe and tell me your name, the city you're watching from in the comment below, and I will tell you the shocking thing that happened next. A shock. Electric. It shot up my arm, into my chest, spreading heat through my entire body. I gasped. His eyes snapped up to meet mine for the first time, and I saw it, just for a second. A flash of something behind those dark eyes, something that didn't match the weak, broken prince everyone saw. Something ancient, powerful, dangerous. Then it was gone. His gaze dropped back down. The moment passed, but my heart was racing. The cuff clicked around my wrist, then the second one. His hands had stopped shaking. The priest completed the blessing, declared us bound. man and wife, Alpha and Omega. The crowd applauded politely, mechanically, already bored with our pathetic union. But I couldn't stop staring at Althor, couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had just shifted. That flash in his eyes, what was it? What had I seen? He offered me his arm. I took it. His muscles were more solid than they looked. We walked back down the aisle together, and I could feel the weight of his presence beside me. It was different from before, heavier, like the air around him had thickened. I told myself I was imagining things, stress, fear, my mind playing tricks on me. But deep down, I knew better. The reception blurred past in a haze of forced smiles and empty congratulations. Noble families who wouldn't deign to speak to me under normal circumstances now offered hollow well wishes. They all wanted to see the spectacle up close. The failed Omega and the powerless Prince. A match made in hell. Althor barely spoke. He stood beside me, shoulders still hunched, eyes downcast. Playing his role perfectly. The weakling prince who couldn't even celebrate his own wedding properly. But I noticed things now. Small things. The way nobles would approach us, full of condescension and barely veiled mockery, and then hesitate, just for a moment, when they got too close to Althor, like they could sense something lurking beneath the surface, something that made their instincts scream danger. They always laughed it off, shook their heads at their own foolishness. After all, Prince Althor was harmless. Everyone knew that. Everyone but me, because I was starting to suspect they were all wrong. The feast dragged on. Course after course of rich food I couldn't taste, wine I didn't drink, toast after toast mocking our union under the guise of celebration. I smiled until my face ached, nodded until my neck hurt, played the grateful bride, all while feeling Althor's presence beside me like a coiled spring, waiting. For what, I didn't know. Finally, mercifully, the celebration ended. The nobles departed, still laughing among themselves. The servants began clearing the great hall, and Althor turned to me. "It's time," he said quietly. His voice was deeper than I expected. Rougher. Time for what? I wanted to ask, but I knew, of course I knew, our wedding night. The walk to our chambers felt like a march to my execution. My heart hammered against my ribs. Fear mixed with something else, something I didn't want to name. Althor walked ahead of me now, his shuffling gait from the ceremony replaced with something more purposeful, more deliberate. The change was subtle, but it was there. The guards opened the doors to the royal suite. We stepped inside. The doors closed behind us with a heavy, final thud. And suddenly, we were alone. Truly alone for the first time. The chamber was enormous. A massive bed dominated the center, draped in deep crimson silks. Candles flickered along the walls, casting dancing shadows. A balcony opened to the night sky, where a full moon hung like a bloated pearl. But I barely noticed any of it. All my attention was on Althor. He stood with his back to me, perfectly still. The hunched shoulders, the bowed head, the picture of weakness, but the air around him, it was charged, electric, like the moment before lightning strikes. I took a step back, my instincts screaming at me to run. "You're afraid," he said. Not a question, a statement. "No," I lied. "You should be." The words sent ice down my spine. I wanted to demand answers, to ask what he meant, but my voice had abandoned me. He turned slightly, not enough to face me, just enough that I could see his profile in the candlelight. "They think I'm weak," he continued, his voice still quiet but harder now, edged with something dark. "The court, the nobles, My own family. They look at me and see failure. A prince who can't shift, who can't command, who can't even inspire basic respect. His hands clenched at his sides. They're wrong. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. My breath misted in the air. Impossible. It was summer, warm and balmy, but I could feel the cold radiating from him like winter given form. "What are you?" I whispered. He laughed. It was a bitter, harsh sound that scraped against my ears. "Your husband," he said. "Your mate. Your alpha." "You're not an alpha. Everyone knows what I've let them see." He turned fully now, met my eyes, and what I saw there froze me in place. Gold. His eyes had turned molten gold, glowing in the dim light. Not brown, not human. Something else entirely. Something that shouldn't exist. "I've played the weakling for years," he said, moving toward me with predatory grace. "Let them mock me, underestimate me, all while building power they couldn't begin to comprehend, waiting for the right moment, the right catalyst." He stopped in front of me, so close I could feel the heat pouring off his skin, so close his scent wrapped around me, pine and rain and now something else, something wild and ancient and absolutely terrifying. "And then they gave you to me," he said softly. "My Omega, my mate, my key." "Key to what?" His smile was sharp, dangerous. "Everything." The moon outside the window began to glow red. Impossible. The light streaming through turned crimson, bathing the room in blood-colored illumination. And Althor began to change. His skin rippled. Bones cracked with sounds like breaking tree branches. His frame expanded, muscles bulging beneath his clothes. His shoulders broadened. His height increased. The weak, trembling prince I'd married was being replaced by something else. Something massive, powerful, monstrous. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, could only watch in horror and fascination as my husband transformed before my eyes. His clothes tore, fell away in shreds. His body was covered in dark markings now, runes that glowed with the same golden light as his eyes, ancient symbols that pulsed with power. He threw his head back. A sound erupted from his throat, half roar, half howl. It shook the walls, made the candles flicker and dance. The windows rattled in their frames. And I realized what I was seeing. Not just an alpha, not just a shifter, a king. The true alpha king, the apex predator, the thing legends warned about, the power that should have died out generations ago. He was everything the court feared. Everything they'd tried to suppress by marrying him off to a worthless Omega. They thought they were neutralizing a threat. They had no idea they'd just armed him. The transformation completed. Althor, no, the Alpha King, stood before me in his true form, easily 7 feet tall now, his body pure muscle and power, his eyes burning gold, runes glowing across his skin like brands. He was magnificent, terrifying, beautiful in the way a natural disaster is beautiful. And he was looking at me like I was the most important thing in the world. "You feel it, don't you?" he said, his voice deeper now, resonant. It vibrated through my bones. "The bond. It's waking up." I did feel it, a pull in my chest, a string tied around my heart, leading directly to him, growing stronger by the second. No, this couldn't be happening. This wasn't real. "Stay away from me," I managed to say, my voice shaking. He laughed again, but this time it wasn't bitter. It was amused, possessive. "You're mine now," he said, moving closer. "You were always meant to be mine. They gave you to me thinking I was powerless, thinking I couldn't even consummate our bond. They were wrong about that too." The heat from his body was overwhelming now. like standing next to a furnace. I could feel sweat beading on my skin. He reached out, one massive hand cupping my face. His touch was surprisingly gentle, but I could feel the barely restrained power in it. He could crush my skull without effort. Before I will tell you what he whispered to my eyes, hit the subscribe button to stay tuned. "I've waited so long for this," he murmured. "For you, my mate, my queen, the one who would complete the bond and unlock my full power." "I'm not your queen," I said, trying to sound defiant. Failing miserably. His smile widened. "Not yet." He leaned down. His lips brushed against my neck, right over my pulse point, the spot where an alpha marks their omega, claims them permanently. Every instinct in my body screamed, half of them telling me to run. The other half wanted him to bite, to mark me, to make this bond permanent. I hated that second half. His teeth grazed my skin. Not biting, not yet, just threatening, promising. "Soon," he whispered against my throat. "Very soon, everyone will know what I am, what we are, and the kingdom will burn for what they've done." Then he pulled back, left me trembling and confused and aching with need I didn't want to feel. "But not tonight," he said. "Tonight, I want you to understand what you've become part of. I want you to see the truth, all of it." He moved to the balcony, stood framed against the red moon, raised his arms, and the sky answered. Lightning cracked across the heavens. Thunder rolled like drums of war. The wind howled and screamed. Power radiated from Althor in waves I could see. Golden light pulsing outward, spreading across the kingdom. Every alpha within 100 miles would feel it, would know the true king had awakened, and they would be terrified. I should have been terrified too. Should have been planning my escape, finding some way out of this nightmare I'd stumbled into. But I wasn't. Instead, I was drawn to him, to that power, to the man who'd hidden himself so completely that an entire kingdom had been fooled. What else had he hidden? What else was I about to discover? He turned back to me. The golden light faded from his eyes slightly. Not gone, just banked, waiting. "Sleep," he commanded. "Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow I make my move. And you, my beautiful Omega, will be right beside me." It wasn't a request. I should have argued, refused, asserted some kind of control over the situation, but the bond was pulling at me, making my limbs heavy, my mind foggy. An alpha's command, backed by power I couldn't begin to resist. I found myself moving to the bed, climbing under the covers, my body obeying while my mind screamed in protest. Althor watched me, those golden eyes tracking my every movement, hungry, possessive, patient. "Good girl," he murmured. And despite everything, despite the fear and confusion and anger, those two words sent a shiver of pleasure through me. I closed my eyes, tried to calm my racing heart, tried to make sense of what had just happened. I'd married a prince everyone thought was powerless, but on our wedding night, he'd revealed himself as something else entirely. An alpha king, a force of nature, a man who'd been playing the long game while everyone underestimated him. And I was his mate, his queen, whether I wanted to be or not. Sleep claimed me eventually, but my dreams were filled with golden eyes and promises of power, of a kingdom burning, of a throne waiting to be claimed, and of me standing beside him as it all came crashing down. When I woke, pale morning light was streaming through the windows. The red moon was gone. The storms had passed. Everything looked normal. Except Althor was standing over me, back in his weak prince form, shoulders hunched, eyes downcast, the perfect mask firmly in place. But I knew better now. I'd seen what lurked beneath. "Good morning, wife," he said quietly. "I trust you slept well." The casual tone, the submissive posture. If I hadn't seen him transform with my own eyes, I would have thought last night was a fever dream. "What happens now?" I asked. His lips curved into a small smile. "Now? Now we go to court. We play our roles. The pathetic prince and his unfortunate bride. We let them mock us, underestimate us. Why? Because predators hunt best when prey doesn't know they're being stalked." A chill ran through me. "Who are you hunting?" "Everyone who ever looked down on me, everyone who laughed, everyone who thought they could cast me aside like garbage." His voice remained soft, pleasant, but there was steel underneath. "Starting with my dear brother, Gobble. Gobble, the legitimate heir, the golden child, the true prince everyone expected to inherit the throne. What are you going to do to him?" Althor's smile widened. "Nothing, yet. But he'll make the first move soon enough. They always do. The entitled ones can't help themselves when they sense a threat." "And you want him to attack us?" "I want him to think he can attack us. There's a difference." He offered me his hand. I stared at it for a long moment. Taking it would mean accepting this. Accepting him. Accepting whatever dark game he was playing. But what choice did I have? The bond was already forming, already tying me to him. Fighting it would only hurt both of us. I took his hand. His fingers closed around mine, warm, strong, completely at odds with his weak prince persona. "Smart girl," he murmured. "This is going to be fun." Fun. Right. Because playing political games with an alpha king who could destroy the kingdom was exactly my idea of entertainment. But as we left the chamber together, Althor shuffling and weak on the outside while I felt the leashed power coiled inside him, I realized something. I was curious, despite the fear, despite the confusion. I wanted to see how this played out. I wanted to watch him destroy the people who'd looked down on both of us. And maybe, just maybe, I wanted to help. The throne room was packed. Every noble in the kingdom had gathered for the morning court session, ostensibly to handle routine business, but really everyone wanted to see the newlyweds, wanted to gawk at the spectacle. We entered through the side doors. Althor kept his head down, walked with that shuffling gait. I stayed beside him, playing the dutiful wife. The whispers started immediately. "Look at them. It's almost sad. Did they even consummate? I heard the prince can't—" "Shh, don't be crude. Though I did wonder." Laughter. Cruel and cutting. I felt it like physical blows. But Althor didn't react. Didn't even flinch. He just kept walking, moving toward the section reserved for lesser royals. The back, where failures belonged. We took our seats. I could feel hundreds of eyes on us, judging, mocking. Then the herald announced the king's arrival, King Aldrich, Althor's father, the current ruler. He swept into the room with all the arrogance of absolute power, tall, broad, commanding, everything an alpha king should be. His presence filled the space, demanding attention and obedience. But I felt Althor tense beside me, just slightly, and I realized something. King Aldrich's power was impressive, overwhelming even, but it was nothing compared to what I'd felt from Althor last night. The king took his throne, scanned the room with cold, calculating eyes. When his gaze fell on us, his lip curled in barely concealed disgust. Ah, the happy couple. How quaint. More laughter from the court. "I trust your wedding night was satisfactory?" the king continued, his tone making it clear he expected the opposite. Althor said nothing, just nodded meekly. The perfect picture of a prince who couldn't satisfy his wife if he tried. The humiliation burned, not for me, for him. They were mocking him to his face, and he just took it. But his hand found mine under the table, squeezed gently, a reminder. This was all part of the plan. The king moved on to other business, trade agreements, border disputes, the mundane workings of ruling a kingdom. I tried to pay attention, but my focus kept drifting to the man beside me. What was he planning? When would he make his move? Then I heard a name that made everything snap into focus. Now, I want to tell you how they had felt and recognized Althor's power, but then you need to subscribe to this channel quickly to stay informed. Prince Gavel has requested an audience, the herald announced. The king's face lit up. My son? Of course, bring him in. The doors opened, and Gavel strode in. He was everything Althor pretended not to be. Tall, muscular, confident. His dark hair was perfectly styled. His armor gleamed. He moved with the easy grace of someone who'd never questioned his place in the world. The court practically swooned. Whispers of admiration replaced the earlier mockery. Father, Gavel said, bowing slightly, just enough to show respect without suggesting submission. I come bearing important news. Speak, my son. Gavel's eyes swept the room, landed on Althor, and something cold flickered in them. I've received reports of unusual magical activity last night, he said. Powerful emanations coming from the palace itself. The mages are concerned. Oh no. They'd felt Althor's power. When he transformed, when he unleashed that golden energy, the whole kingdom would have felt it. This was it. The attack Althor had predicted. Magical activity? The king frowned. What kind? The old magic, father. The kind that should be extinct. The kind that only... He paused dramatically. Only the ancient Alpha Kings could wield. The room went silent. Everyone staring. Because that was impossible. The Alpha King bloodline had been diluted over generations. That kind of power didn't exist anymore. The king's expression darkened. You're suggesting someone in this palace? I'm suggesting we investigate immediately, Gavel cut in smoothly, for the safety of the kingdom. These old powers are dangerous, unstable, in the wrong hands. He looked directly at Althor. They could be catastrophic. There it was. The accusation barely veiled. Gavel thought Althor was the source, was trying to paint him as a threat, exactly as Althor had predicted. The king considered this. Very well. Begin the investigation. Search the palace. Question everyone. If there's a rogue magic user hiding among us, I want them found. Actually, father, Gavel said, his smile sharpening, I'd like to start with those closest to the royal family. After all, only those with the bloodline could theoretically access such power. His gaze hadn't left Althor. I request permission to question my dear brother and his new wife. The trap was sprung. Gavel wanted to interrogate us, wanted to expose Althor's secret, wanted to destroy us before we could become a threat. The court held its breath. This was better than any entertainment they could have planned. I felt Althor squeeze my hand again, still playing weak, still playing his role. Of course, the king said. Althor and his wife will cooperate fully. Won't you, son? Althor finally looked up, met his father's eyes, and for just a fraction of a second, so brief I almost missed it, those golden flames flickered. Then they were gone. Yes, father, he said meekly, whatever Prince Gavel needs. Gavel's smile was triumphant. He thought he'd won, thought he'd cornered his weak little brother. He had no idea what was about to happen. Excellent, Gavel said. Then I'll begin the questioning immediately, in private, for their protection, of course. Of course. because torture and intimidation worked better without witnesses. We were escorted from the throne room by Gavel's personal guards, 6 of them, all heavily armed, all looking at us like we were already guilty. They took us to a chamber in the West Wing, small, cold, designed for interrogation. The guards positioned themselves at the exits. Gavel entered last, closing the door behind him, and his pleasant facade dropped immediately. "So," he said, his voice sharp and cruel, "want to tell me what you did last night, brother?" Althor remained silent, head down, submissive. Gavel moved closer. "The entire kingdom felt it, that surge of power, and it came from your chambers. I know it was you." Still nothing from Althor. Gavel's hand shot out, grabbed Althor by the throat, slammed him against the wall. I gasped, started to move forward, but a guard's hand on my shoulder stopped me. "Answer me, you pathetic waste of space," Gavel snarled. "What are you hiding? How did you access that power?" Althor's eyes met Gavel's, and he smiled. It was a terrible smile, full of teeth and promises of violence. "You really want to know?" Althor asked softly. Gavel frowned, confused by the sudden change in demeanor. Then Althor's hand came up, closed around Gavel's wrist, and I heard bone crack. Gavel screamed, tried to pull away, but Althor held him effortlessly. "Let me show you," Althor said. The golden light erupted from his eyes, his skin began to ripple, and Gavel's scream turned from pain to terror as he realized what he was seeing. The guards moved, drew their weapons, charged forward to protect their prince. Althor barely glanced at them, raised his free hand, and power exploded outward. All 6 guards flew backward, slammed into the walls hard enough to crack stone. They crumpled. Unconscious or dead, I couldn't tell. Gavel was still screaming, trying desperately to break free, but Althor just held him there, transforming, growing, becoming that massive, terrible thing I'd seen last night. "You wanted to know my secret, brother?" Althor's voice was deeper now, resonant. "Here it is. I'm not the failure everyone thinks. I'm not weak. I'm not powerless." His transformation completed. The Alpha King in all his terrifying glory. "I'm everything Father feared I could be. I'm the true heir, the real power, and you—" He leaned close to Gavel's terrified face. "You're just an obstacle." He threw Gavel across the room. The prince hit the far wall with a sickening thud, slumped to the ground, gasping for air. Althor stalked toward him, predator approaching wounded prey. "I could kill you right now," he said conversationally. "Snap your neck, tear out your throat, end you before you could scream for help." Gavel was crying now, actually crying, all his arrogance and confidence gone. "But I won't," Althor continued, "because I want you to tell them. Go running to Father, to the court. Tell them exactly what you saw here." They'll destroy you," Gavel managed to gasp out. Althor laughed. "They can try, but see, brother, I've been preparing for this moment for years, building alliances, gathering power, waiting for the perfect opportunity." He glanced at me. "And then they gave me my mate, completed my bond, made me unstoppable." He crouched down in front of Gavel. "So go ahead, sound the alarm, bring the army, bring every alpha in the kingdom. It won't matter. Nothing can stop what's coming." He stood, walked back to me. The transformation reversed as he moved, his body shrinking back to the weak prince form. By the time he reached me, he looked harmless again, except for those eyes, still burning gold. "Come, my queen," he said, offering his hand. "We have a kingdom to conquer." I took his hand, stepped over the unconscious guards, followed him out of the chamber. Behind us, Gavel was already scrambling to his feet, already running to tell his father what he'd seen. The game had begun, and I was right in the center of it. The palace erupted into chaos within the hour. Guards flooded the corridors. Servants whispered in panicked clusters. Nobles fled to their chambers or toward the exits, trying to decide if they should stay or run. Gavel had told them, had described the monster he'd seen, the power, the transformation, the threat, and they were terrified. Althor and I walked through it all calmly, hand in hand. He maintained his weak prince persona, but I could feel the satisfaction radiating from him. This was exactly what he wanted. "Where are we going?" I asked quietly. "To the throne room," he said. "Father will summon us there. He'll want to confront me publicly, make a show of power. And then?" His smile was sharp. "And then I show him how wrong he is about who holds the real power in this kingdom. You have made it this far with me. Why won't you subscribe now as we continue this story?" We reached the massive doors to the throne room. They were already open. Inside, King Aldrich sat on his throne, surrounded by his most trusted advisors and guards. The entire court had gathered, hundreds of people, all watching as we entered. The king's face was thunderous. "Althor, step forward." Althor shuffled forward obediently, still playing his role, still pretending to be the weak son. "Gavel has made disturbing accusations," the king said coldly. "He claims you attacked him, claims you wielded forbidden magic, claims you transformed into something impossible." "My brother is mistaken, father," Althor said meekly. "I would never—" "Silence!" The king's power rolled through the room, an alpha command that would have brought any normal wolf to their knees. Althor swayed slightly, but didn't kneel. The king's eyes narrowed. "You dare resist me?" "I'm trying not to, father," Althor said, his voice still soft. But there was an edge now. "But it's getting harder. The bond, you see. Now that it's completed, my true nature keeps slipping out." "Your true nature? You're powerless, broken. I made sure of it when you were born." The room went silent, everyone processing what the king had just admitted. He'd deliberately crippled his own son. "Yes," Althor said. "I know. The binding ritual, the suppression runes, very thorough, father. It took me years to figure out how to break through them." The king stood. "Impossible. Those bindings can't be broken. Not without a mate bond," Althor finished. "Without an omega to anchor me? Without someone to channel power through?" He looked at me. "Funny how things work out." The golden light was building in his eyes again, the transformation beginning. "No," the king said, his voice sharp with fear now. "I won't allow it. Guards, seize him." The guards hesitated. They'd heard what happened to Gavel's men, seen the bodies being carried out, but they were loyal, and they moved forward. Althor sighed. "This is going to be messy." Then he let go completely. The transformation was faster this time, more violent. His body exploded outward, muscles rippling, bones cracking, runes blazing across his skin. The weak prince mask shattered, revealing the Alpha King underneath. The guards stopped, frozen in terror. Althor's roar shook the palace foundations. Power radiated from him in visible waves, golden energy that made the air shimmer and crack. Every wolf in the room felt it, the absolute dominance, the primal authority that said obey or die, and one by one, they knelt. Even the king's personal guards, even the advisors, even the nobles who'd spent years mocking the powerless prince. They all knelt, everyone except the king himself. He remained standing through sheer force of will, but I could see the strain on his face, the way his hands gripped the throne to keep himself upright. "Impossible," he whispered. "You shouldn't be able to. The bindings broke the moment I marked my mate," Althor said. His voice echoed through the chamber. "You thought you could suppress my power forever. You thought wrong." He moved forward, each step deliberate, powerful. The Alpha King claiming his rightful place. "This throne," he said, "this kingdom, it was always meant to be mine. You knew it. That's why you tried to cripple me as a child. That's why you spread lies about my weakness. That's why you married me off to a nobody Omega, thinking it would neutralize the threat." The king's composure cracked. "You're not ready to rule. You're too dangerous, too unstable." "No," Althor said. "I'm exactly what this kingdom needs. A real Alpha King, not a politician playing at power, not a diplomat afraid to show strength." He was right in front of the throne now, looking down at his father. "Step down," Althor commanded. "Abdicate. Give me what's mine." The king's hands shook. "And if I refuse?" Althor's smile was terrible. "Then I take it anyway, and you die resisting. Your choice." The tension in the room was suffocating, everyone waiting, watching, terrified of what would happen next. Then a voice cut through the silence. "I challenge you." Everyone turned. Gavel stood in the doorway. His arm was in a sling. Althor had broken it during their earlier confrontation, but his eyes blazed with desperate courage. Or stupidity. Hard to tell which. "The old law," Gavel continued. "Trial by combat. You want the throne? Prove you deserve it. Fight me for it." Althor laughed. Actually laughed. "You? Fight me? Did you forget what happened an hour ago?" "I'm challenging you formally," Gavel said, "in front of the entire court. Refuse, and you're a coward. Accept, and—" He swallowed hard. "And we settle this the right way." It was a trap, of course. Even if Gavel lost, he'd be seen as noble, brave, fighting for his kingdom, and if by some miracle he won. But Althor didn't care about the political implications. I could see it in his eyes. He wanted this fight, wanted to prove his dominance absolutely. "Accepted," he said. The king sagged in relief. This bought him time, bought them all time to figure out how to stop Althor. They were fools if they thought time would help. The challenge was set for sunset. Sacred ground. The old ritual combat arena that hadn't been used in generations. Until then, both combatants were separated. Althor was taken to the east wing, Gavel to the west. I was brought to neutral chambers, treated like a prize waiting to be claimed by whoever won. I hated it. A servant brought me food I didn't eat. Another brought me formal clothes for the event. Black and gold, the colors of mourning and royalty mixed together. Appropriate, I thought. Because someone was definitely dying today. As the sun began its descent, I was escorted to the arena. The entire court had gathered. This was the spectacle of the century. The weak prince versus the golden heir. Everyone expected it to be over quickly. They were right, but not in the way they thought. The arena was ancient, a circle of stone surrounded by tiered seating, runes carved into the ground, old magic meant to contain the combat, to prevent interference. Gavel entered first. He'd changed into ceremonial armor, blessed by the priests, enchanted to protect against magic. He looked every inch the noble warrior. The crowd cheered for him, chanted his name, their champion, their hope. Then Althor entered from the opposite gate. He wore nothing but simple black pants, no armor, no weapons, just his body and his power. The crowd fell silent, because he wasn't hiding anymore, wasn't pretending. His golden eyes blazed in the fading sunlight. His runes glowed against his skin. He looked like a god of war given flesh, and Gavel, for all his bravery, took a step back. The high priest began the ritual words. The ancient laws of combat. Winner takes all. No interference. Fight until surrender or death. Then he stepped back. And it began. Gavel moved first, charged forward with his sword raised, a perfect strike aimed at Althor's chest. Althor didn't move. The blade struck. Should have pierced skin, shattered bone, killed him instantly. It shattered instead. The enchanted steel broke against Althor's skin like glass against stone. Gavel stared at his broken weapon in disbelief. This is the right time for Althor to come out completely transformed, but I need you to subscribe and I will give you details of his powerful transformation. My turn, Althor said. He moved, too fast to follow. One moment he was 10 feet away. The next, his fist connected with Gavel's armored chest. The armor crumpled. Gavel flew backward, hit the arena wall hard enough to crack it. Blood sprayed from his mouth. The crowd gasped. Gavel struggled to his feet, desperate, terrified, but still fighting. Admirable, Althor said. Stupid, but admirable. He moved again, a blur of motion, each strike precise, brutal, breaking bones, tearing armor, reducing the golden prince to a bleeding mess on the ground. But he didn't kill him. Not yet. Yield, Althor commanded. Gavel spat blood. Never. Then suffer. What followed was systematic destruction, Althor breaking his brother piece by piece, every bone, every joint, every shred of dignity. The crowd watched in horror. Some tried to look away but couldn't. The runes prevented anyone from leaving until the combat ended. They had to watch, had to witness the birth of their new king. Finally, mercifully, Gavel lost consciousness, his body broken beyond recognition. Althor stood over him, looked up at the crowd, at his father sitting in the royal box, face white with shock. Anyone else? Althor asked. Silence. Good. He walked to the center of the arena, raised his arms, and power exploded from him, golden energy that shot into the sky like a pillar of fire. Every wolf in the kingdom would feel it, would know. The Alpha King had claimed his throne. When the light faded, Althor stood transformed. Fully, completely. His true form on display for all to see. I am your king! His voice boomed across the arena. Anyone who disputes this, step forward now. No one moved. Then kneel. The compulsion in his voice was irresistible. The entire crowd dropped to their knees. Even the king, even the guards, everyone bowing before the true Alpha, everyone except me. I stood in my section, the only person still upright, and Althor's gaze found me. He moved toward me, the crowd parting like water, climbed the stairs to where I stood. Up close, in his full Alpha King form, he was overwhelming. His power pressed against me like a physical force, but I refused to kneel. Stubborn, he said, but there was approval in his voice. Good. A queen shouldn't kneel to anyone, not even her king. His hand cupped my face, gentle despite his size. It's done, he said quietly, just for me. The throne is mine, the kingdom is mine, and you. His thumb brushed my cheek. You're mine. The bond flared, that connection between us burning bright and hot. I could feel his satisfaction, his triumph, his possessive claim on my soul. I didn't ask for this, I whispered. No, but you have it anyway. His smile was sharp. We both do, and now we see what we build with it. He turned back to the crowd, still kneeling, still terrified. Rise, he commanded. Your new king addresses you. They stood shakily, waiting. Things are going to change, Althor said. The old ways that allowed weakness and corruption to fester? Gone. The politics that valued appearance over strength? Done. From this day forward, this kingdom will be what it was always meant to be. His eyes blazed brighter. Strong. Powerful. Feared. He gestured to me. Your queen stands beside me. Any who insult her, insult me. Any who threaten her, threaten me. And any who dare raise a hand against her. He smiled. Well, you saw what happened to my dear brother. Imagine what I'll do to defend my mate. The message was clear. I was untouchable now, protected by the most powerful alpha in existence. I should have felt grateful, safe, secure in my new position. Instead, I felt trapped, because with that protection came ownership. Althor had claimed me as thoroughly as he'd claimed the throne, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. The coronation happened at midnight. A hasty ceremony, but effective. The high priest placed the crown on Althor's head, declared him King Althor, first of his true name, ruler of the realm, and then another crown, smaller, delicate, but unmistakably royal, the queen's crown. They placed it on my head, bound me to him officially, made me royalty whether I wanted it or not. The court bowed, chanted our names, swore fealty, but I could see the fear in their eyes, the uncertainty. They'd traded one king for another, but this new king was something else entirely, something dangerous. And they were right to be afraid, because Althor wasn't done. The celebration ended, the court dispersed, and Althor took my hand. Come, he said, we have work to do. He led me through the palace, not to our chambers, to the throne room, where King Aldrich, the former king, waited under guard. He looked old suddenly, diminished, all his power and authority stripped away. Father, Althor said, no warmth in the word. You've made your point, Aldrich said bitterly. You're stronger, more powerful. You win. No, Althor said. This isn't about winning. This is about justice. He circled his father slowly, predator assessing prey. You tried to destroy me before I was even born, bound my power, spread lies about my weakness, married me off like garbage, all because you feared what I could become. You are what I feared, Aldrich spat. A monster, a tyrant. You'll destroy everything I built. Good, Althor said simply, because everything you built was rotten, corrupt, weak. He stopped in front of his father, looked down at him. You'll live, he said, stripped of title and power. You'll watch as I rebuild this kingdom into something strong, something worthy, and every day you'll remember that you created this, your fear, your cruelty, your short-sighted attempt to control what you didn't understand. He leaned close. You made me into this, Father. Live with it. Then he turned away, dismissed the former king like he was nothing, and in that moment I saw exactly who Althor was. Not just powerful, not just dangerous, patient, strategic, ruthless. He'd spent years planning this moment, hiding his true nature, waiting for the perfect opportunity. And when it came, he struck with precision and overwhelming force. He was terrifying, and I was bound to him for life. That night, we returned to our chambers, the ones we'd shared on our wedding night, where everything had changed. Althor dismissed the servants, locked the doors, and finally, let his transformation fade completely. He stood before me in his human form, but the power still radiated from him. The golden eyes still blazed. You're afraid of me, he said. Not accusing, just observing. Should I be? He considered this. Probably. I'm everything they said. Dangerous, unstable, powerful beyond reason. Then why shouldn't I run? His smile was sad, Because the bond won't let you, and because— He moved closer. Despite everything, you're curious. You want to see what happens next, what we become together. He was right. Damn him, he was right. I didn't choose this, I said. No, neither did I. We were both pawns in someone else's game. His hand found mine. But now we're the ones moving the pieces, together. What if I don't want to play? Then don't. Walk away. I won't stop you. His eyes held mine. But we both know you won't, because you're not a coward. You're not weak, and you're tired of being treated like you are. His words cut deep, hit truths I didn't want to acknowledge. I was tired. Tired of being dismissed, underestimated, treated like worthless trash. And standing here, wearing a crown, bonded to the most powerful alpha alive, I had the chance to be something else, something more. What do you want from me? I asked. Everything, he said simply. Your loyalty, your trust, your power added to mine. Help me rebuild this kingdom. Stand beside me as we tear down the old order and create something new. And if I refuse? Then you refuse. I'll still protect you, still honor our bond, but we'll miss the opportunity to do something extraordinary. He pulled me closer, close enough that I could feel the heat of his body, the pull of the bond growing stronger. I know I'm asking a lot, he murmured. I know you're scared, but I also know you're stronger than anyone, including yourself, realizes. His lips brushed my forehead, gentle, reverent. Be my queen, he whispered, not just in name, in truth. Rule beside me. Help me build a kingdom worthy of us both. The bond flared, that connection between us singing with possibility, with power, with potential. I could feel his sincerity, his need, his desperate hope that I'd say yes. And despite everything, despite the fear and uncertainty and the absolute insanity of the situation, I felt myself wanting to. I need time, I said, to process, to understand what you're asking. Take it, he said immediately. Take all the time you need. We have the rest of our lives. He pulled back, gave me space, proving his words with action. Tomorrow, we begin the real work, he said, reforming the court, restructuring the kingdom, rooting out corruption. It won't be easy. We'll make enemies. We already have enemies. His smile was sharp. True, but now we have the power to destroy them. He moved to the balcony, looked out over the kingdom spread below. Everything changes tomorrow, he said. The old guard will resist. They'll plot and scheme and try to tear us down, but they'll fail. How can you be sure? He looked back at me, those golden eyes blazing with certainty. Because I've already won. The throne is mine, the power is mine, and with you beside me. His smile widened. We're unstoppable. I moved to join him on the balcony, looked out at the kingdom that was now ours to command, and I realized he was right. Everything had changed. From the moment I'd been forced to marry the powerless prince, my entire world had shifted. I'd gone from worthless Omega to queen, from pawn to player, and tomorrow, the real game began. I looked at Althor, at this man, this king, who'd hidden his true nature so completely, who'd endured years of mockery and humiliation, who'd waited with inhuman patience for his moment, and who'd chosen me as his partner in all of it. Tomorrow, I said quietly, we start building your new kingdom. His hand found mine, squeezed gently. Our kingdom, he corrected. We build it together, or not at all. The bond flared again, stronger now, accepting, solidifying. We stood there together, looking out over our domain as the first light of dawn began to break. The powerless prince was gone. The Alpha King had risen, and I, the worthless Omega, had become his queen. Everything had changed on our wedding night. But this was only the beginning. The kingdom spread below us, unaware of the storm that was coming, the revolution we would bring, the power we would wield. They would learn soon enough. We all would, and nothing would ever be the same again. Thank you for watching till the end. Kindly subscribe now for more gripping stories like this, and please, you can go ahead to tell me your thoughts in the comment below.